Go and throttle up.
Discovery Roger, go for deploy.
Thanks to you and to everybody in the shuttle program. The crew is go for launch.
Roger, nice to be in orbit.
We have followed in their footsteps to get us where we are today.
Welcome to America's Spaceport, the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where in just about 4 hours from now, that Dragon spacecraft sitting on top of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket that you see right there will launch Crew-7 to the International Space Station and will carry all the action streaming in 4K. Welcome everyone to our launch broadcast. I'm NASA's Daryl Nail, and with me is NASA astronaut Jessica Meir. We are so happy to have you here for this countdown this evening.
Thank you very much, Daryl. It is wonderful to be here tonight at the Kennedy Space Center.
Now, for those who don't know, Jessica Meir, she is a veteran of the spaceflight program, and I want to show some video right now. This is 2019. This was the 221st spacewalk for Space Station Assembly, but it was the first to be conducted entirely by women. And Jessica Meir is one of those women that you see there in space. She partnered with fellow astronaut Christina Cook. They replaced a battery charge discharge unit, but it was a huge milestone for NASA. 2 years later, here she is in a lower profile role, the astronaut support person for Crew 2. There she is, number 38. She's in the SpaceX Ninja suit. And she was not only in the suit-up room, but she also traveled out to the launch pad with the astronaut, made sure she took all her pictures, right? Making sure she's documenting everything right there. There you see her at the top of the launch tower as Crew 2 astronauts Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur made their way into the capsule. And of course, you helped facilitate a lot of things right there. Nice view that you see there. She's with us today, and you bring a lot of experience to the table, Jessica, and we hope to learn from you not only your experience as an astronaut in space, but also in what you did during the suit up for Crew 2.
Yeah, thank you, Daryl. Those are some really nice memories, so it's nice to see a little bit of footage of that. This view from the suit room that you're seeing now of the current crew, Anne McLean is the astronaut support person, the ASP, that's in the role for our office, just like I did back in that previous video for Crew 2. So we are part of that team of the SpaceX Ninjas, helping the crews with those last preparations, getting into their suits, doing all the pressure checks, making sure that everything is proceeding nominally towards our launch. And it's nice because all of those other ninjas down there in those black suits, those are all SpaceX personnel. But the key is that we wanted to have some member from our NASA astronaut office there as well to still be supporting the crew for anything that they need. So that's why we have one NASA astronaut integrated with the team there. And as you mentioned, we actually go all the way to the launch pad as well. So at that time point when we are up on the launch pad getting ready for that final ingress, we're the only NASA person that is there at that moment. SpaceX, of course, we completely trust them to get everything ready for us for launch day, but it's nice to still have a representative body there for anything that is needed during that time period. So you'll see Anne McLean in a couple of these shots. I didn't see her number. Did you see her number there?
She is number 21 in the space. I haven't seen her pop into camera yet.
21, there she is right there, actually just to the left behind the people in the front.
Oh, there, yeah, good eye.
Yeah, and another one of my 8-ball classmates.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, Anne McLean, of course, spaceflight veteran herself, most recently as flight engineer on the International Space Station for Expedition 58 and 59. Twice a lead spacewalker herself during her 204 days in space, and as you mentioned, a fellow 8-baller. So we've got Crew-7, and those 4 crew members are currently in the 4 seats, which are, as I'm told by SpaceX, these are just like the seats inside Dragon. They are molded exactly the same, and they are doing their suit checkouts.
Yeah, that's right. So right now they are in that same position. It's the same seat as you just mentioned. And the key there is that they are they have an interface of the umbilical line that is attached to their suit. So that is what they need to do to perform the pressure checks. So all of the gas, the air for the suit will come in through that line. They have their communications port through that line as well. So they're seated comfortably, getting ready, making sure that the integrity of their suits is all in check. You can see Jasmine Mogbelli there with her visor down.
And the suit inflated, right?
Exactly, yeah. So she is in the midst of her pressure check and looks to me like everything is going well. But of course, we want to make sure that those suits have good integrity in the event that we would ever have to use them on board the vehicle. There's Andy Mogensen sitting to her right. His visor's still up, so it looks like perhaps his test has not been initiated yet. And I believe they do perform these one at a time. So Andy has a few minutes there just to kind of relax. You can see the Danish flag on the left of Andy's suit because he is a European Space Agency astronaut, and he is from Denmark.
Yeah, one of the, I believe, the first astronaut from his country to go to space. Of course, he was on the ESA IRIS mission. And we'd like to tell you more about these astronauts. But first, of course, we want to tell you that a lot of preparations have brought us to this point, including a dry dress rehearsal and a static fire of the rocket earlier this week, for those of you who are following along. You also know we stood down from yesterday's launch attempt for additional data reviews. But for now, all systems are looking good for launch.
So we mentioned Andy, the Danish astronaut. He did have a flight previously. I think you just mentioned that, the IRIS mission. It was a 10-day mission on board the ISS. So this is really exciting for him because this will be his first long-duration mission.
And let's roll through the astronauts right now and our one cosmonaut and introduce you to the crew. We'll start off with Lieutenant Colonel Jasmine Mogbelli. There she is. She hails from Long Island, New York, and earned a bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. She also has a master's degree in aerospace engineering from the Naval Postgraduate School. Graduated with honors from the U.S. Naval Test Pilot School, and as an AH-1W Super Cobra pilot and Marine Corps test pilot, she's flown more than 150 combat missions. In all, she accrued 2,000 hours of flight time in more than 25 different aircraft. At the time of her selection as an astronaut, Mogbelli was testing H-1 helicopters and serving as the quality assurance and avionics officer for VMX-1. She is also the proud mom of twin girls. And she goes by the call sign Jaws, right?
Yes, she does. Most people in her office do refer to her as Jaws, and those girls are extremely adorable. So I'm sure that they are getting very excited to see their mother lift off to space.
In fact, she's taking 2 stuffed dragons with her up into space as part of her personal flight kit. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit, but each dragon for each twin girl. And now you're looking at Andreas Mogensen. This is pilot Andreas Mogensen's second trip to the space station. His first was as the flight engineer for the ESA IRIS mission in 2015. Mogensen has logged 9 days, 20 hours, and 9 minutes in space. As Jessica mentioned, he was born in Copenhagen, Denmark, and graduated with an international baccalaureate from the Copenhagen International School, a master's degree as well in aeronautical engineering from Imperial College London, and a doctorate in aerospace engineering from the University of Texas at Austin. In 2015, Mogensen became the first Danish person, as we mentioned, to go to space and is currently serving as the European Astronaut Liaison Officer to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston.
So Andy actually goes by the nickname Hollish sometimes.
Hollish.
Yeah, he played rugby. He's a big rugby fan. He played rugby at UT Austin, and his crewmates gave him this nickname because of all the confusion among Americans between Denmark and Holland. So Hollish was the name there. You know, you have the Danish and the Dutch, so that's confusing for a lot of people. So they birthed that name Hollish.
They gave him one word, yeah. And now you're looking at mission specialist Satoshi Furukawa giving us a big wave and a big smile and the thumbs up. His interest in space began when he was just 5 years old and saw the Apollo 11 moon landing on TV. He was also a fan of the Japanese TV space hero Ultra 7. His professional career, though, began as a medical doctor. It's always good to have a medical doctor on board.
Absolutely.
But after seeing a news report about Japan auditioning for new astronauts to do science experiments on the ISS, he decided that he would apply. And he was selected by the National Space Development Agency of Japan to be an astronaut candidate in
Core on countdown
1999.
at T-minus 3 hours and 46 minutes. Suit donning and checkouts are complete on schedule.
All right, so they got the suits and they're all checked out. Finish up with Satoshi. His first mission to the ISS was as a flight engineer for Expedition 29 that launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in 2011.
You know, Daryl, I also hear that Satoshi is a ramen master. So perhaps he'll have some culinary expertise up on the ISS.
Well, I'm sure as someone who has spent time in the ISS, that would be greatly appreciated by the fellow astronauts.
Oh, absolutely. A little bit of variety to the food system is always appreciated. And each agency
And
actually
core on
sends up some of
countdown.
their own
Advanced
foods.
team is in the white room on schedule.
So they may have some Japanese treats. I'm sure they have some Japanese treats packed away for this mission. I flew with Italian astronaut Luca Parmitano, so we had an Italian meal one night with the entire crew. And those kinds of things are really great for crew morale, you know, bringing everybody together, the entire crew on board the space station, and having a meal together just like you would with your family or friends back home.
I hear so much about the time spent around the meals where you're not working and you get to just debrief and share your experiences of the day with your fellow crew members. Last but not least, mission specialist Konstantin Borisov was selected to be a cosmonaut in 2018, and this will be his first trip to space along with Jasmine. He has a Bachelor of Economics from the Russian Academy of Economics, a Master of Science in Operations Research and Systems Analyst from Warwick University in Coventry, UK, and a Master in Aircraft Life Support Systems from the Moscow Aviation Institute. He has worked for companies such as Volvo and the Boston Consulting Group. He is also an experienced freediving instructor and an international freediving judge.
You know, he even had a training session with Jaz and also her classmate Laurel Hera, who will be launching on the Soyuz in September and joining them all up there. He gave them a training session, and apparently they were pretty good breath hold students. So
Really?
who knows what they'll be up to up there.
That's not easy to hold your breath for, 2 minutes.
It is not, but you know, humans are trainable, and I would say astronauts are particularly trainable. So give us a mission like that and a few techniques, and I guess they're well on their way.
As you're listening to all this great information and insight from Jessica, we want to invite you, the audience out there, to participate. If you'd like to ask Jessica a question over the next 3 hours, jump on X, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, and send your question with the hashtag AskNASA. We look forward to hearing your questions, and Jessica looks forward to answering them tonight. She is a wealth of information.
You know, Daryl, we talked tonight about how this is probably the first time that we've had 4 crew members from 4 different countries, at least on a Dragon capsule. And another interesting
Core on
fact
countdown.
is that
Advanced team is proceeding to open the side hatch on schedule.
none of the 4 crew members were even born in the U.S. So even Jasmine was born in West Germany before she came to the U.S. So pretty interesting, a truly international crew that we have here. And I know that that's something that they really take a lot of pride in.
That's a great point about this multinational crew, and each of them, because they come from a different country. Great point about the multinational crew. And because each one of them comes from a country, each one of them has a large support crew, right? Including a flight surgeon from that country. So for the launch and recovery director, that's a this is the largest total number of crew, not just for the actual Crew Dragon, but we're talking about for the support systems, both on the boat that goes out to recover them, as well as the emergency operations that are standing by to support in case anything happened.
Yeah, that's a great point. Of course, we rely heavily on all the people on the ground. You know, we're the faces that you see up there and the ones that get to wear the suits and go to space, but it truly takes a huge team of all the individuals that support every aspect of our space flight. And as astronauts, we never forget that. And this crew probably has an incredibly extensive network all over the world as well. You know, we talked about how international they are. And Kostya, Konstantin, he's lived in 4 different countries. Andy's lived in at least 8 countries.
Wow.
So a lot of people that they've touched, I'm sure, along the way. I love the story. You know, Andy actually worked in the oil industry in Congo and Angola after he studied aerospace engineering. And it was about the same time that the movie Armageddon was coming out. So at least for him, he was doing this kind of obscure job. But finally, you know, he had this movie where he could help explain to people that there truly was a connection between his current job and his dream to be an astronaut one day.
Well, a guy from an oil rig going up into space, thank goodness he's not trying to steer a meteoroid away from hitting the Earth.
Hey, well, he will be prepared for whatever comes their way. Bruce Willis style right there.
Absolutely. And hey, Jessica, we got a question already teed up. Let's go ahead and take that from our social channels. At Savannah Brainery asks, are there any pre-launch rituals for crews?
Yeah, that's a great question. And tradition is something that we do like to uphold. We have several rituals. For example, this crew, when they leave the suit-up room, they will sign a mission patch, and all of the other crews, all the other Dragon crews have done that before them. When they leave the building, just before they get out and ride out to the launch pad and the Teslas, there are stickers that are on the outside of the crew quarters building there, and they'll sign those as well, one for each crew. There's a great story that one of the SpaceX employees told me that one time she came out for one of the launches, I think it may have been Crew 2, and it seems to happen for every launch where she saw a dragonfly land on the Dragon patch. So lots of those good luck signs along the way. The crew.
Indeed, the dragon. I've heard that. Like you see a dragonfly on launch day, that's supposed to be a good omen.
Yeah, absolutely. The crew will play a card game.
Yes.
We'll have a view of that so we can save that conversation for when we see that later, before they exit that suit room. And then in the white room, so the small room that's really at the end of that access arm before they get into the capsule, they'll sign that as well. So lots of different traditions along the way.
And I'm looking forward to that. You mentioned the card game. We're going to be showing that in a NASA broadcast for the first time that I know of. They've taken pictures of it, certainly. There's Konstantin relaxing. And by the way, those recliners, I understand it, are from the shuttle era. So they've got some miles on them.
Yeah, again, that history and tradition is always very important to us here at NASA. You can see Joe Acaba in the blue flight suit there. He is our current chief of the astronaut office. So he's down there talking to the crew right now.
He'll be the one playing the commander of Crew-7 in a game of cards. Jasmine Rogue-Belly, of course.
You can see they're holding on to those little packs to the right. That's giving them some airflow so that they'll still get some cooling in the suit. You know, once you get into that garment, it can get warm in there in that pressure suit. So they're carrying their little ventilation system to help them stay cool. Looks like they're going over there now toward that card game table.
It sure does. We have some fists on the table. Looks like they're ready to play.
Yeah, so Daryl, the tradition for this card game is that they will play until the commander loses. And the idea there is that they want Jasmine, the commander, to finally lose that card game and get all that bad luck out of the way before the mission. So here they are. I see Joe's shuffling the cards now.
Shuffling the deck up. So Joe Acaba on the left, as she mentioned, chief of the astronaut office. On the right, Jasmine Rogue-Belly, the commander of the Crew-7 mission.
So interestingly, some of the crews have actually changed what games they play over the last several crews. So I'm not even sure what game they're playing right now, but the key is to make sure that Jasmine loses.
And by losing, they all win.
Exactly. Get that bad luck out of the way now, and then, you know, this is just really gives us a nice moment of levity, a little bit of a laid-back atmosphere before they're really getting going and getting out to the launch pad. So like the social media question that came in, it's nice to have these traditions that are all part of the process that mean a little bit of a something to us.
Okay, well, Jasmine cut the deck, and now Joe is dealing.
Very dramatically, I might add.
I think this might be a game that involves one card.
Oh, she lost already,
right
it looks
off
like to
the
me.
bat.
That's great. That is great news. High fives all around. Oh, they're back for more. Looks like these guys are ready to launch today. I love the smiles on their faces.
A lot of enthusiasm, like you said. It gives that, moment of levity. Space flight is serious business, so it's good when you can join around the table with your crew and those who are supporting you and share a moment like this.
Yeah, I can tell you the camaraderie in that room right now is really palpable. You know, that SpaceX team that they have been training with and working with for so long now, preparing them for the flight. All of the different managers like Joe, Norm Knight we saw there in the previous frame. Lots of people that are there for them, supporting them and really enabling this space flight. All the people down to the ones that provide us with all of the things that we're going to fly up there to the space station. So a really great feeling, and I can see those genuine smiles all around tonight.
And it looks like a member of the team received the official playing deck for Crew-7, which is a nice notion on their part.
Yeah, great memento to have.
So from here, folks, the astronauts will get some final photos. That number 34, I think, is that Sarah Gillis? It might be from SpaceX.
I think that was Haley Esparza
Okay.
that just walked this way.
Yeah, that came towards camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
My correction.
Yep, she's she is really the liaison between all of astronaut operations and SpaceX. So a lot of us know Haley really well. She is always a central part of all of our training and prepping for flight. She's wonderful.
Number 34?
Yep, that's number 34. That's Haley.
Okay, very good.
Giving Andy some water.
Oh, yeah. I hear it is warm, right? So that you want to hydrate, but you don't want to hydrate too much.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a good balance. It's a full-service operation down there, providing drinks along the way and everything. There's Satoshi's chatting with Anne McLean. And of course, this is all very, very choreographed for the timeline. They will exit that room at exactly that prescribed second and get down, do their signing, and get into the elevator.
Right, and they are not scheduled to depart the suit-up room until T-minus 3 hours and 24 minutes, so they have a fair amount of time in here.
So you mentioned Jasmine's children. You know, all of these crew members have kids. And last year, Satoshi even became a grandfather.
Oh, congratulations to him.
Yeah, pretty exciting. So I'm sure they have lots of family members watching right now and getting ready for this flight. There you can see all of the stickers that I mentioned coming out of the building.
Those are the ones you said that they sign?
Yeah, and their cars will be waiting out there. They'll have a receiving line.
Core on countdown. Lyo seal.